Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillahi wahdah, wassalatu wassalamu ala man la nabiyya ba'da, amma ba'd. Let's start with the first question. What is fiqh? So, fiqh literally means to understand, to know, to understand, to grasp, to go to the deep meaning of something. Not just knowing the meaning, a word means this is one thing, but knowing all the bits around it, what it literally means that what you understand by that. So that's what fiqh is. So you know a hadith, you know a Quranic ayah, but that Quranic ayah has got some deep meaning into it. So if one knows that, that's fiqh. Knowing what exactly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in particular hadith is trying to tell us. That's fiqh. So fiqh is to understand. And knowing all the practical aspects of the fiqh ruling drawn or inferred from the text. So the text being, what is the actual text that we follow? Quran. And what is Sunnah from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, Hadith? What is that? That is the explanation of the same text. So you can say the primary source or the primary text is Quran and Sunnah, nothing else. We just take everything from Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In essence, even the Sunnah is the explanation of Quran, because we as a human being need to get connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and in between us and Allah there is a medium, there is intermediary with regards to knowing the intent of Allah. We cannot understand the words of Allah, and we cannot even get the word of Allah unless a prophet or a messenger tells us this is what Allah says. Obviously this medium is very much loved and beloved to us. We do not worship that medium. It is not a means of worship. It is just, well, a connection. And it is not a just, it's a very big connection between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without this particular connection, we wouldn't have known Allah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for us, through Jibreel, is the main reason that we could know Allah. Otherwise, we would have not known Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah made himself known through Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and obviously with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes the book, so they are one and the same. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us, this is the book, follow it, and I will tell you how to follow it. There will be many things in the book which a common man, even if he knows Arabic, and a scholar, even if he knows the best of the Arabic, and if he teaches, he would not understand unless he is being taught by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which means those particular ayat are to be seen in the light of hadith or saying of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the action of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or the taqrirat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so Quran, and then because we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, oh Allah, guide us to the right path. Up to this point, we are quite independent. Anyone who has little bit of intellect, anyone who is born and has attained the age of discernment, which is balugha, they become sensible, and that doesn't have to be physical balugha. It could just be, maturity of the brain. So you attain the age of say 7 or 8, 9. Anyone who's of that age, if you ask them, were you always there? He said, no, I was not. I was not. There was a time when I wasn't born. So every one of us can, without even thinking, know that there was a time that I was not in the world. That's my date of birth. Before that, I wasn't here. Even after the date of birth, I'm not very sure what I was doing, but there's an age, maybe 3 or 4, then I started knowing what I was doing. Which means that we were sent to this world, or we were created at some point, and we do not know that we did anything to deserve that. Did you request Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, please create me, I'm dying to come to this world? No one did that. We never asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send us to this world, did we? Allah's blessing on his own. He decided. Our parents might have made some dua after marriage, but we specifically, we didn't know that there's a thing called coming into the world. We were born and created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without us deserving that. Because number one, we never asked for it, or we didn't do anything. We didn't do any services to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to deserve to be sent to the world. This is just a sheer blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And for that, we say Alhamdulillah. When we say Alhamdulillah, this is what it means. Ya Allah, you have created me from nothingness. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. Oh my Lord, you have just created me from nothingness without me deserving that. I'm so grateful to you for that. Ya Allah, thank you for that. Alhamdulillah, all praise be to you. And since you created me, I know this has all been created by you, Allah. So Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Then you know that I was born very weak. I was completely dependent on for everything on my parents. If you were left on your own the day you were born, you'd be dead within a day, within a few hours maybe. If someone didn't, give you a small spank on your back to make you cry, or you didn't cry, you wouldn't have breathed ever. You couldn't breathe. You know why we do that? In the mother's womb, we don't breathe. But we still live alive, by the way. Amazing, isn't that? With hearts, the lung is completely collapsed. Heart is pumping, but the lung is collapsed. You do not at all breathe because you are in water. You're all going up and down in water, amniotic fluid. You're swimming there. If you breathe, you would inhale all of that, get an infection. So you don't breathe. You get food and oxygen, everything through the umbilical cord. Your navel connection is a cord that is connected to mother's womb. That's where you get everything extracted nicely. Mother breathes, gets the oxygen into the blood, it comes to you from your tummy. You're just enjoying swimming without doing anything, not even breathing. You come out, the first thing you have to do is to cry. If you don't, you'll be done. Because you will never be able to get your lung expanded. The minute you come, the first breath makes your lung go up and down and you start breathing normally. Without that, you'll be dead. Okay? So this is Allah's favor upon us. So we come out of the world. If mother or someone around us didn't help us with breastfeeding, with food, with covering, because we're so open to the air and cold weather and everything, we'd be dead like this. If we started crying and we cried inconsolably, we would just make ourselves dehydrated and we'd be dead very soon. It's only a matter of a few hours. You leave the baby, done. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put immense love in the mother's heart. And that's amazing. Why would that be? This mother gets the most severe pain through this baby. If I just twist your ear, the next thing you just try to repel me, push me away. Anyone who pinches you, just try to push it, no matter who the person is. You can't just keep taking it. And this baby is giving me pain for the last 9 months and intermittently giving me sickness and this and that. And here I am about to deliver. While I'm delivering, the pain goes on for 18 hours for the first baby, sometimes even longer, shorter. Why would you want to keep that baby? You want to just kick the baby out, get it out of the way. I'm done. So this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you know what? During the pregnancy, by the way, those who are not married wouldn't know that. Just for you to know something, they cannot produce any milk. Not at all. No milk drop at all. Mom cannot give any milk until the baby is born. The minute the baby is out, they get a signal from the chemical hormonal stuff. You get your brain stimulated, milk started coming out. That's amazing. The food has already been prepared while baby is being born in the last 9 months. Isn't that a sign of mercy from Allah? So we know automatically that this Lord is the ultimate merciful God. And then we know, so this is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And likewise, Maliki Yawmiddin, then we realize, you know what? If Allah has done that much favors to us, it is impossible that would not be questioned. It is not done in futile. It is not completely futile. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must have a plan about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala definitely wants us to be responsible for something. What is that responsibility? You know what? I do not know. I can know that there is a creator who created me. I can know that he's created everything just by looking around me. I can know that he's very merciful because he's done whatever he has done to me. I can know that he would definitely ask me on the day of judgment, or someday there would be a time, I don't know when, but he would definitely question me, what am I doing with my life, or something that he has given to me. So what do? I need to just refer back to him. Oh Allah, I want your help. This is what we say, Iyaka na'budu, because He's the only one worthy of worship, and He's the one who I need to ask help from. So Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. Oh Allah, I worship you and I want to help. Some help from you. I need your help. What the help is? Just tell me how to please you, how to get myself successful on the day of judgment, or on the day that He's going to ask. I don't know, on the day of judgment. I know there will be a day, there will be a time when He's going to ask me. You do not get anything for free. You get a free big parcel from HMRC, you know that's coming free. You know, maybe in a week, or you get something from there's something delivered to your place. Oh, I can pay for them. Gonna come. You know that's gonna come. There will be a bill with you with that at some point. It's not gonna be free. You know that. Likewise, your life is not free. There is something to be had. You would expect as a common individual that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to ask me something. And that's why we ask Allah, Idhina Sirat al-Mustaqim. Oh Allah, guide me to right track, whatever that right track may be. But I want the right track where definitely people before me must have trodden. There are people who've gone here and there, but I want those who followed your way, O Allah, which is the way of the pious predecessor from Anbiya, Salihin, Siddiqeen, Shuhada, and Salihin. And this is not me saying, Allah telling us in Quran, because we say we need the way and the pathway of those whom you favored. So Allah said, okay, no worries. أولئك الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين. These are the four categories of people who I have favored upon. Anbiya, the prophets, Siddiqeen, the righteous, the pious, the ultimate truthful ones, and Siddiqeen and Shuhada. Shuhada are the martyrs, and the Salihin are the most pious people. Obviously, we cannot have any prophet now because Rasulullah was the last prophet. After that, we have the prophet Siddiqun, which still is a possibility today, but it's difficult. They're rare today. There are a lot more in the previous generations, pious people of the past. But we can definitely have a lot of shuhada, those who witness Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with their spiritual eyes, and those who lay their life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But definitely salihin all around you. All the imams of the masajid, ulama, scholars. In fact, everyone other than me is a salih for me. And for you is the same. Everyone should think that I am the only one not salih. Everyone else is salih because I know myself. I know my sins and my shortcomings. I'm definitely worthy of a lot of mercy and forgiveness. I need to ask that. But they are all looking fantastic because I do not know their actual worksheet, how they've done in their exam. They're doing fantastic. Apparently, they must be doing good. I don't know. So the chances are they're a lot more better because I do not see any mistake in them. I see a lot in myself. So everyone is salih. So we can just learn from them. Everyone can learn from everyone else, provided they have got something to teach each other. Anyway, so once we have got that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then gives us this Quran. So ultimate thing is just Quran. Hadith and Sunnah of Rasulullah is the explanation of that. Without this explanation, you cannot understand that. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we send the Prophet in the same people. The people speak the same language. You would never have a Prophet who comes in a people and he is speaking something different language, same language. So they would always speak the same language. Alhamdulillah. So Sahaba knew the Arabic. Why they needed the Rasulullah to explain? They did. How many books Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to humanity? About 313. Four major ones, and there are suhuf, about 313, according to some narration, 315. But give and take, whatever, that's only in few hundreds. And how many prophets? 125,000. What's the ratio? For each book or sahifa, there are about, any good mathematician here? I don't know, whatever that is. How many? So if you just divide 125000 by 315, you get the answer on your phone. You can tell me whenever you get that. One book taught by that many person. 13 or 15? How many? Again? 125000 divided by 315. Again? 399. So about 400 men, prophets, not common men, best of the prophets, who are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, best of the men, they are teaching the same book. Don't they understand the common people? Don't they understand the language? They do. Which means that you cannot learn deen on your own. So that's the first point to understand. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained Quran for us in about 10 to 15,000 different narrations. So those are the main sources. Without that, you cannot learn these. You have to go back to them all the time. Every scholar, every imam would go through them. They do not make up anything on their own. So keep that in mind. When you say sometimes, oh, I want the answer based on Quran and Sunnah. So I say, oh, sorry, I was dealing with Bhagavad Gita the other day, so maybe I was responding through that. It is actually quite offensive when a student asks a question and then they say, please give me answer based on Quran and Sunnah. That's okay. Until now, I was dealing with, or giving you answer through Bible or something else, Hindu scripture or something. But no one in the sane mind should ask and should. It's like, speak to me, but speak politely. Speaking politely anyway, it's a bit offensive, isn't it? Anyway, so secondary sources, there are two secondary sources as well. We'll come to that, which is ijma and qiyas. Ijma and qiyas. Consensus. Ijma is consensus. And analogy, which is qiyas. Because this is not simple of the Islam in the students, we're not going through the usul al-fiqh. I'm not going to tackle that in detail, we just need a little bit of idea. There would be many things in Quran which are explained by Rasulullah in a very clear terms. But there will be certain things, because the people at that time, they had a lot more understanding because of their language, because of the culture and the time. Situations do change. Situations do change in time that we move, as we move on. The things did change, and there was something which deliberately Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Allah subhanahu wa taala Himself left like this, just to see the attitude of a believer, and that's a test. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give us, He could have given every individual, should you sit like this or should you sit like that? What do I do tomorrow? Am I going to perform? Is this year I'm going to perform Hajj or not? I've got two choices between this and that. What do I do? Allah said, no, go for that one. Allah could have given you a long list of everything that's going to happen to you, and you would just be a robot. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want. Allah wants you to decide based on your understanding, asking the right people at the right time, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ, and move on. And there'll be variation for the same thing. Someone would say, well, it's a bit too low. But if it was half filled, someone would say it's half full, someone would say half empty, and they're both right. And the third one, who's like a little bit more clever, would say half full and half empty both. And some would say just a glass of water, I don't want to know what it is in there. So whatever is the answer, as long as you have followed the right steps, you are okay. And that is why the famous story in Sahih al-Bukhari about the people who were traveling to Qurayza, well, after the battle of ditch, battle of Khandaq, battle of Ahzab, trench. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "La yusalliyanna ahadakum al-asra illa fi bani Qurayza," kama qala. None of you should pray their asr except in the vicinity of Qurayza, which is a tribe just behind the borders of Medina. So they were tired, they could not make it to the place for Asr, and Asr was about to end. So they thought, sun is about to set, let us just pray here. A group of them said, but did you not hear Rasulullah saying that we should pray there? They all agreed. The statement of Rasulullah was, and a Sahih hadith, everyone knew, and it's hadith mutawatir, everyone had clear idea. This is what Rasulullah said, that we should pray in there. So we're all going to be praying there. So why are you praying here? He said, yeah, but he didn't mean it. He meant that we should walk that fast that we'll be able to pray there. But somehow we got delayed because we are tired. We had 1 month worth of siege by the enemies. We haven't had food for days. Our animals, horses, they are weakened as well. So we couldn't make it up to the time. So does it mean that I shouldn't stop and pray by Asr? Because Rasulullah emphasized praying Asr on time immensely in many hadiths. And even in the Quran, he said, "Inna salata kanat lil mu'minina kitaban mawquta." So what do I do? So based on that, a group of Sahaba prayed there, apparently going against the hadith, but trying to understand what Rasulullah meant by that. Another group of people went and they prayed in Qurayza after Maghrib. And when they come back to Rasulullah and they asked, Rasulullah said, Asabtum, asabtum. You did right and you did right. Obviously, there's only one right answer, by the way. There can't be two right answers to a given situation. He didn't say that your doing is right. The answer is right. He said, you did the right thing. And you did the right thing because you are a qualified school. You have got many qualified Sahaba with you, and you understood that to that, Alhamdulillah. You would get one reward and you got two. He didn't say it, but he said it later on that if a mujtahid makes a decision, fulfilling all the steps, and he gets it right, he gets two rewards. Otherwise, he gets one reward. So obviously, in this situation, there is a group which got one reward, which and the other one got double. Not a problem, because we do not need to know that who got double, who got single. So the ulama, the fuqaha, the muhaddithin, the mujtahideen, the imams like this, they come up with the ruling by looking at apparent words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which might be understood slightly differently by different people. And people would do. There are many situations, and we'll come to that when we talk inshallah ta'ala about. So the ulama, when they all come together, say you're all all mufassirun, in fact you are all mujtahidun. So the all great imams of early Islamic century sitting there. And with this, you all agree that this is half full. You all agree that this is half full. Everyone. Until you die, all of you, the last person, and you all remain firm, and this was half full glass, and this is ijma, this is consensus. So no one can change it. It is very strong dalil, because it is impossible that every one of the alim of the time, or muhaddis, or mufassir, or the mujtahid of the time, faqih of the time, get the thing wrong. There will be one or two who may make a mistake. Some of you may say this and some may say that. That is why now you know the answer to why there are many situations where you will see Imam so and so said this and Imam so and so said this. Why they differ on so many things? And unfortunately, those who do not have the depth or the understanding, because we have dissociated ourselves, detached ourselves from religious knowledge, we actually fail even on the common sense issues. And that happens because when we abandon Sharia, this is what we get. This exactly is what happened to Bani Israel. They abandoned Sharia, they abandoned the teaching of their prophets, whereas they were the inni faddaltukum ala alamin, they were being given preference from whole humanity. And yet, when they abandoned, they started going according to their whims and desires. They became ضُرِبَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ الذِّلَّةُ وَالْمَسْكَنَةُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them the lowest of the low. They really become completely dejected and rejected people. Why is that? Because they did not follow what they were supposed to follow. They did not do as they should do. So we, Ummah, collectively, in most cases, have actually done that. The only ulama and the scholars, alhamdulillah, we owe a lot to them because they have kept that fantastic tradition up to now. But the way it happened in the last 10, 20 years, it seems like we are going to lose out most of that. And this is what the prophecy of Rasulullah is, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not snatch, inna Allah la yaqbidu al-ilma intiza'an yantazi'u min al-nas walakin yaqbidu biqabd al-ulama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not snatch out the ilm from the chests of people, but rather he would take it by taking the lives of ulama. So ulama would die one after the other, and those who just follow this, they would know from 1999 onwards up to now, the world famous scholars, there's literally thousands of them have passed away. Thousands of them. Every year you will find few good scholars, leaders, top notch. Those leaders I'm talking about, where all the other scholars tend to refer back to. So we're losing all of them. So we only got handful in the current time of that caliber. It's just going down and down and down. So by the time we reach in our our kids reach in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, perhaps we would find it very difficult to get a decent alim who can give us the thorough understanding of Sharia. Yeah, we would have very many DIY scholars who have their own channels and they just tell you whatever, maybe with some t-shirts and muscles and some bracelets and drinking with left hand. They do whatever they want to do. But there are many like that. Not questioning that their degree, they must have studied from somewhere. That's up to them. But the sincerity. It is not just about knowledge. It is not just about knowing exactly what it says in the text. It is how much sincerity you have, how much piety. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi wasn't the greatest of the Imam because just of his intellect, rather because of his zuhud. His zuhud surpassed his fiqh and everything else. And that is the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes someone accepted. The two different things, as our Shaykh would always mention, maqbooliyah and mashhooriyah. So someone who is mashhoor means someone who is very famous. 500,000, people looking at your blog or whatever. That's being famous. That's being mashhoor. People know you a lot. There may be one person sitting there who no one knows, and yet he is maqbool in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Imam Abu Hanifa was maqbool for the fact that up to now, whole ummah accept him as the Imam. Now, you do not have to be following Hanafi fiqh, but you do accept that he was a great Imam. Imam Shafi likewise accepted, maqbool. Imam Bukhari, maqbool. Now, Imam Bukhari, Imam Abu Hanifa, in their times, Imam Bukhari was literally chased out of the city. He could, not one city, many cities. He was not even allowed to live in the city. If he were here, people would just chase him out. You can't come to our city. To the point that on the night of Eid, he had to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, take me. The world or the earth has become so constricted, I can't run away anymore. I would rather come back to you. And he passed away on the Eid morning in Ramadan. So you could imagine a person asking Allah, which is, everyone knows we shouldn't be asking that unless there is a reason. For Imam, there was a acceptable reason. Why would he do that? Did he know that people are going to love him that much? But he is maqbool even if only few people accepted him to be the Imam at that time. Imam ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah. Imam Abu Hanifa was flogged in the prison. They were not, respected and honored as we honor and love them by just listening to the name. Wow, Imam Malik. Wow, Imam Dar al-Hijrah. It doesn't work like that in their time. It is only after. And Allah says same about even the Prophet. وَآتَيْنَاهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنًا Ibrahim alayhi salam. How many people? فَآمَنَ لَهُ لُوط. Wife and my nephew and few people around my children, that's it. And Ibrahim is just on his own with few people. But Allah says, we have given him all the blessings in the world, both worlds. وَآتَيْنَاهُ فِي even dunya حَسَنًا. He got hasana in this world. Because it doesn't matter how many people listen to you, how many people. What matters is, has Allah accepted you? With your small drop of action, if that happens, you are, mashallah, successful. And this is why these imams continue for 1400 years. I mean, sometimes I dare say that, but even some of the Prophet's teaching did not last that long. People changed it. Whereas these Imam Bukhari, the likes of Imam Bukhari, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, Imam Awza'i, many like Sufyan Thawri, Sab'a Fuqaha Medina, all of them, these are great, there are thousands of them. Their teaching, their stuff, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala somehow preserved. It's amazing. That's acceptance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah said that inna nahnu nazzalna wa inna lahu lahafidhun. Allah said that I am going to preserve this deen. How would Allah preserve? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give this idea to Abu Bakr Siddiq and Umar Farooq together to compile the book of Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't leave Quran as a book form. What he did, he actually made so many huffaz. So almost every Sahabi was a hafiz to a degree, but definitely 15,000 Sahaba were cover to cover. They listened directly and from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they were huffaz. So the top level huffaz we're talking about. So them and the rest of the Sahaba, most of them were huffaz anyway. So it was in their chest. But then they had it written down as well. Quran was written down. The time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would call different people to come and write it down. But it would be written down on different pieces. Sometime on the parchment, sometime on a leather skin, sometime on a big shoulder of a camel. So because the paper wasn't rolled, it wasn't there. They just were struggling with any paper. It was like not published or manufactured at that high level. So they would try different things on the wall here and there. So not everyone had everything written, but it was in their memory. And they were so bright with their memory that they didn't need to write down anyway. So what they did, most of them committed to their memory, and then some had it written, some had little bit, some had that bit. So then Abu Bakr Siddiq in his time, so Umar Farooq got this idea. So he is the first one to think about that. And he said, yeah, Amir al-Mu'minin, people are fighting. There are many people coming into Islam. We want the book to be in one form. I cannot make it because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't do it. I don't want to do something which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't do. But he kept insisting till he said, we are not doing it other than to preserve it. We need to have, because the Sahaba would die one day, there will be no Sahabi left. How would the students learn? If there be new people, how would they understand? We have to compile it. Till Abu Bakr Siddiq got, mashallah, openness of his chest. He said, Alhamdulillah, I got inshirah his sadr, let's go on. Then he appointed one of the Sahabis. Okay, who knows the name of the Sahabi? Zayd ibn Sa'd. So they asked Zayd to come and start compiling. He said the same thing. I can't do what Rasulullah didn't do. Why are you asking? In fact, they said, if you both asked me to go and flatten this mountain, I would have done that. That would have been easier for me, even if it took my whole life. What you ask for me is a big task. It's up to me. I'm being in charge of writing it down as a I don't want to, because I think if I made any mistake, that was their zuhud. That was their connection with Allah. Obviously, all the Sahaba started helping them by giving them the written material they had, and they were taking even the shahada for that witness, 2 witnesses for each of them. I was in that meeting, and alhamdulillah, the Quran is then compiled. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserved through chest, from chest to chest, and also in the writing form like this. So the writing is covered. Now the understanding is through hadith. So some Sahaba had written it down. They had their own suhuf, they had their own collection of even the hadith. But at mass level, it happened at the end of the century, the 1st century, when Umar bin Abdul Aziz, rahmatullah alayhi, the 5th caliph, sometimes we call him the Khalifatul Rashid, he actually got all the scholars of the time to start writing it down. Got Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri and the Shurahbil and many others to start working on that. And they, alhamdulillah, did it, and they had compiled the hadith corpus, a big compilation at mass government level. Individually, they all had their own small bits here and there, even from the time of Sahaba. So it has always been written. So the concept or the idea, hadith was only compiled after 250 years, that's completely wrong understanding and very faulty understanding. It has been there from day one, except that at government level it was publicly compiled, and that was in the 99 Hijrah onwards, after Hijrah. Okay, only 87 years after Rasulullah departed from the world. And during that, there were all the transmissions of the narration verbally from teacher to teacher, and people had it written for themselves. What 2250 actually, why people say 250 years after that? Because this is when Sahih al-Bukhari or Imam Bukhari came into being. When Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi came to the world. This is 256. So that's when he was. So people think that that's when Sahih al-Bukhari, 256 is it, the date of departure from the world, 194 to 256, I think. Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi's time. They think because he compiled the best of the best book, perhaps that's when we got the hadith. No, definitely not. There were many people before him who compiled the hadith. Anyway, so then Rasulullah's words are compiled by action and also by writings of the hadith. And then we needed something to understand those meanings, the words of Quran and the words of Rasulullah. Who would compile them together? So these are the ingredients. Main text is like a pharmacy. A pharmacist knows a lot more about the medicine. They know all the ingredients, how much is this and how much, what is the ligand, but they cannot prescribe it, can they? Can you? Obviously not. A doctor might not know as much detail of that particular medicine. How long would it last in your tummy? When is it going to get absorbed by this, through the liver or through the kidney? How is it excreted? What is the half-life? What is this and what is that? That is not known to most doctors, and we don't need to know that, by the way. But pharmacists to help me with that. Why should I waste my time in that? But whenever he needs any help, he's going to come to me as a doctor. I can help. If I need, I would go to him to say, you know what exactly is the chemical product there? They will say, the ligand is this. Can I get, because my patient has got a lot of sulfate in the system, I don't want him to get acidity. Can you just give me something which does not have that? He said, yeah, don't worry, that's the one. So the pharmacists are like muhaddithun. They know in and out of all the hadith. So the hadith, everything that is there, the matan and the who is the the narrator, what is the status of narrator, the pharmacists know everything. So the muhaddithin know all of that. Fuqaha, on the other hand, are the doctors. They are the doctors. They can look at that and they will say, this is right for this prescription. That is why there are many stories where Imam al-A'mash, who is the muhaddith of the greatest level, Sulaiman al-A'mash is of the top category muhaddith. And he, Imam Muslim, in his Muqaddamah, rahmatullah alayh, when he gives the classification, he gives him the top one. He is among those. So Imam al-A'mash, rahmatullah alayh. And Imam Abu Hanifa studied with him hadith. And on many occasions they were sitting specifically on this one, and someone asked a question to Imam al-A'mash. Imam responded, said, you know what about this one? Imam Abu Hanifa was sitting there. He said, do you have any idea about this one? He gave the answer. How did you get that? Where did you deduce it from? He said, oh, from the hadith you just narrated a couple of days ago. Which was it? He said, Subhanallah. Then he realized, you know what, we just know hadith, and you know how to extract ruling from them. It's like you give them all the ingredients which you bought from Tesco's. You give it to your wife. She knows what she put in that food. You just can't look at that and say, I have got this, and no, you don't know. You can eat it, but you can't find out what is in there, despite the fact that you are the person who brought everything. You just don't know. So the wife is the cook. Your wife is your faqihah. She knows how to cook and what to cook for. And the one who brings might know more detail, but we can give you, I've paid extra 5p here because as that's cheaper one, you made me go there, whatever, you can moan about that. Knowing all those details doesn't help the food. Food is only being done by person. Anyway, so fuqaha, they look at all the ingredients and they come up with the ruling in that situation. And that situation could be different to different people. Is that clear? So the fiqh is actually trying to understand the intent of the Sharia. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, what you want? I don't understand. And then when you look at that through the lenses of fuqaha, then you say, subhanallah, it's all clear to me now. Okay? So I just given you an example of faqih versus a muhaddith. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then said, "Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqqihhu fi din," as appeared in Sahih Muslim. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends good for, Allah gives him the understanding of deen, not just knowledge. There's two things, not just the information. So knowledge is two things. I normally put it like this: knowledge includes information plus understanding. Information plus understanding. You can Google it, you would find everything in there. Everything is written in whatever, but that's like information. That's not knowledge. That's why you do not attain knowledge by Googling stuff. You actually can become more crazy, and within few days, weeks, and in fact, what I said, if there was a way of measuring your arrogance, I tell you, do it, and you would know. Within a week, you realize. You start Googling from today. I'll give you a score on the scale of your arrogance. And after a week, get yourself. You'll be much more arrogant than before. Because very soon you realize, you know what, I know more answers. If he didn't know that, he doesn't know that, and you start becoming a mujtahid on your own. And start questioning all the imams of the past. He didn't know, he doesn't know. The Bukhari says this, Sahih Bukhari says this, Sahih Muslim says this. Why this imam is doing something different? Means that he doesn't know. I'm following the hadith, I'm following the Quran. He was following perhaps Bhagavad Gita or something. And this is just arrogance. And you can never get, even how it doesn't matter. Some people say, but it's done out of sincerity. I put it to you, if you are not doctor and someone just collapses here, you start giving operation. I say, I'm going to do the heart surgery on this man. Are you sincere there? You are the worst person there. You are not sincere. Sincerity dictates that you are innocent. You may be innocent because you're just doing innocently naive. You are a naive person. Without realizing your limitation, you jumped out. But that's not sincerity. You did not help the guy. You tried to do something which is not your remit. So if you as a non-doctor start prescribing a medicine to someone and save the life, and you've prescribed that medicine, the person got that medication, and mashallah, he's alive. You go and tell the court people, what would they do to you? You'll be behind the bar, by the way. You will be, I can tell you. How dare you prescribe that? They will give you £5 if there's a thank you note, love card or whatever. Very good, mashallah. Enjoy that in the prison with the, whatever cookies you want, but stay in prison for a week. How dare you prescribe something which you were not in? But I do the same thing as a doctor, and the person dies. There's a thank you, doctor. Give me death certificate, please. Are they going to put me behind the bar? No, I'm qualified to do it. And death is an option. We don't know. We can't cure everything. A mujtahid can make mistake. Even if he did, he gets nice pat. Jazakallah, mashallah. Asabtum, asabtum. You did right and you did right. Okay? If you don't believe me, then I can give you a small story about Rasulullah sallallahu during his lifetime. There was a situation when some companion went out on the Rasulullah sent them all. And there was a man from the Sahaba, he got hit by a stone or something, he got injury. And then he became septic with that. He got fever, he was shaking with fever. And the morning, due to that stress, he got wet dream as well. Ihtilam. And in the morning he said, oh people, I've got ihtilam, what do I do? This, unfortunately, none of those Sahaba were fuqaha. Like they were not allowed to give fatwa. As you know, there are about 13 to 15 Sahaba. During the time of Rasulullah only were allowed to give fatwa. And they were not among that. In that cohort, there was no faqih sitting there. So they said, you know what, we don't know anything other than the fact that you have to take shower. You have to do ghusl. It's very cold. And then I can't even do wudu. They said, no, you have to do. This is the only thing we know of. So what they did, they made him jump in that water. The man jumped and that Sahabi died because of infection, and he feared that. When they came back to tell Rasulullah sallallahu were they not sincere? They were sincere. Sincere in our terms. They were naive. But they should have known their limit. That is why we say we should know our limit. Rasulullah sallallahu became very unhappy and very angry with that, and he said, how dare you? How dare you? And there's a word for that which I find very difficult to even translate, for the fact that it's a strong word from Rasulullah. قَتَلُوهُ قَاتَلَهُمُ اللَّهُ. Strong words. So Rasulullah was very unhappy. He was not at all happy. He kept saying it. May Allah kill them all. They killed him. It's a big word from Rasulullah. Because why? They were not qualified to give fatwa. And then Rasulullah said, إِنَّمَا شِفَاءُ الْعَيِّ السُّؤَالِ. Indeed, the treatment for ignorance is to ask. Why did they not ask some qualified? Why did Rasulullah said this to this group, not to the group of people who were sent for Asr in Qurayza? There he's saying it's both fine because you're both qualified. Here you're saying you're not fine because you're not qualified. Okay? But that is why never ever give fatwa to anyone. Even if you got fatwa from someone for your situation, don't judge. Because there may be certain things that might differ in your situation compared to his. You said it's okay. Oh no, Sheikh so and so gave me the fatwa, it's okay for me. But that's for you, your prescription. You can't photocopy your prescription and pass it on to the standing after Masjid. Please take the prescription for me for the cough. This is what I got. Would you do that? That's completely crazy thing to do. Don't even think about that. So fatwa is individual. Yeah, mas'ala is a different thing. If you just want to tell some mas'ala, that's a slightly different matter. Mas'ala means, does my prayer break based on doing that? That's the standard view which is written somewhere, you've learned it, you can just say that I've read that in the book, this is what I think, but I will confirm that from the teacher. If you show, alhamdulillah, this is in that book, alhamdulillah, that's a mas'ala, not a fatwa. So fatwa you can't. Mas'ala is okay for those who have been given ijazah to do so, not for everyone. If you've been given ijazah that yes, you can answer this question, then you can. Without ijazah, not at all. Even with ijazah, you can't give fatwa unless you have done the ifta course and you are mufti to give the fatwa. Okay, it's like, I'm doctor, so can I operate on you? No, I'm physician. I'm not heart doctor. I'm lung doctor. So can I just do your bone surgery? Obviously not. I've done 3 months training during my house job. That was 1996. Would you trust me for that? Never touched any bone ever since? Obviously not. That degree doesn't help. I haven't been given ijazah to do that operation. That's my specialization. When I do my specialization completion, they give me a certificate to say you can do this. As a consultant, I can do for medicine side, for lung side, but not for surgery side. I haven't done that. You shouldn't trust me for even your for anything other than medicine and respiratory specifically. Did you get that? So that's how it is for the ulama. Unfortunately, the current time is such that people believe that anyone who has got a little bit of words to say, bit of Arabic, bit of hadith, and bit of Quran, he is the sheikh. You ask him about everything. And as in our culture, if they find out he's a doctor without inquiring what is your specialty, by the way, so when I go back home, even old ladies come and ask their private masail, I'm not gynecologist, I don't know anything about that. I can tell you about Sharia because I've studied Sharia. I cannot tell you about that aspect. That's what, but they want to know. No, no, but the doctor said this. Can you just clarify that to me? I'm not hujjah for that, but they would not because people think if you have got stage, if you are imam, if you're a scholar, if you're imam of the masjid, then you should know everything. And if you just say, no, I don't know, they'll say, see, he doesn't know that. He's not even a scholar. I'm better than him. Throw him away. All of a sudden, he becomes the completely, rejected person. That is not the way. Just look at people and find out. This is Imam. So if you start looking at Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah as a muhaddis, you'll be upset. You say, oh, he's not muhaddis of that caliber. Definitely he is not. So people question and people say, oh, Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam so and so, Imam Nasai and so said that Imam Abu Hanifa wasn't the best muhaddis. He wasn't. He wasn't a muhaddis. He was not a muhaddis. He was a mujtahid. He was a faqih. Give me one person who ever said in the whole history of humanity, 1400 years, that he wasn't a mujtahid or he wasn't a faqih. To charge him of not being muhaddith, it's crazy. It's like say, you are not a surgeon, are you? I keep pushing me for that. I'm not. I've never claimed that I am. But does it mean that I do not know anything about surgery? Can you say that? No, because for the last in the last 5 years, all 5 years of your medicine, you have to study every subject. You can't become a doctor, MBBS, without having to go through all those subjects. So I've done that. I'm not going to give any fatwa. I wouldn't treat you for that. But if you ask me, I should be perhaps able to tell you where to go, who to find out, or where to get your information from. Way better than your Google, by the way. so, so know the difference. They are specialists in special fields. Very good question. So does it go with the Quran? Yes, there are Quran teachers who are Qurra, who just teach you Quran how to read it. They know the best tajweed, but there are ulama or mufassirin who know the meaning. They might not have the best recitation, they might not be the best reciters, yet they would know the detailed understanding of the Quranic ayah. They are mufassirin. So mufassirin were there to explain the Quranic ayah. Tajweed is done by the Qurra, and they have done their bit. Obviously, in olden days, they knew a lot about everything else as well. A mujtahid would know hadith, fiqh, everything. Mufassir would be as well. But obviously, his main specialty would be here. For example, Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was muhaddith and mujtahid at the same time. Imam Abu Hanifa was mujtahid of the highest caliber, but he was also the Imam of Aqidah as well. He has written books on that and on Kalam and things. Imam Shafi'i was a good muhaddis, but he was way better faqih, very high level. But Imam Shafi'i was also very high in his language, in Arabic grammar, lugha, amazing. Imam Abu Hanifa's student, Imam Muhammad, was the best of the best in terms of Arabic language and nuances, in detailed understanding. Imam Malik was a good faqih and a very good muhaddis as well, top level muhaddis. So they all had more than one specialty, but they were known for one. Imam Bukhari himself was a very good mujtahid, by the way. But he is known, or his main specialty remains hadith. He's mastered it. No one would be able to surpass Imam Bukhari. They would be at the same level, maybe a little bit up and down, but he's really quite high up there. Okay. Today, for the next 30 years, there were about 40 people he selected. It was his council of Imam Abu Hanifa, whereby he gathered them all together almost every day for the next 30 years, and they would discuss the issues. And Imam Abu Hanifa would finally get someone to write it down. If you all agree, that's the conclusion, that's the final fatwa. If people do not agree, then however many opinion comes, he would just write all 1, 2, 3. Like this is how it would be. There was a proper compilation through that team. So we say this in modern term, multidisciplinary approach. Do you know of MDTs? We all have in our specialties multidisciplinary. Nowadays, we do not diagnose cancer until we have that meeting. Cancer expert sit there, a surgeon, lung doctors, or any specialty doctors, the radiologists, the pathologists, nurses, everyone together, and they decide whether this is this or not. And obviously, the chances of that getting wrong is relatively or much, much less than the individual decision. Whereas, so Imam Abu Hanifa, through that, created this council. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so that Allah preserved their students, Imam Abu Hanifa's students, they started preserving the information of Imam Abu Hanifa, the fatwas of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, Imam Ahmad, and it just continued for quite a long time. Other Imam's students, they did not write it down, or most didn't write it down, or it didn't get preserved for the longer period, and all gone. So we have opinions of those Imams scattered in different books here and there, but we do not have all the detailed explanation for every situation by those Imams. So hence we do not have any major books for other schools or other Imams. So they died out. There was a fifth school, Zahiri school, which lasted only 500 years back. It just lasted up to that time. And then there was no, the books are there, but there's no teacher to teach those books. So when you do not have a student to teach the book, it's going to go away. So gradually that faded away 500 years back. The Zahiri school died. So it's Allah's will. It doesn't matter. They're all our Imam. They're all like they are our masters and our teachers. MashaAllah, we love them. So what's the relationship between these Imam? Imam Abu Hanifa, rahmatullah alayhi, and Imam Malik were quite contemporary to each other. Imam Abu Hanifa was born in 80, and Imam Malik slightly later, about 13 years, 12 years later than that, is 93. So Imam Abu Hanifa was in Kufa. Okay, he's Persian in origin, and he's in Kufa. Imam Malik, where is he? In Medina. Okay, he remained in Medina, mashallah. So Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad are the two main students of Imam Abu Hanifa. Now, Imam Muhammad studied with Imam Malik as well. He went to Medina and studied with Imam Malik. Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad both are the teachers of Imam Shafi. So Imam Shafi studied with him. And Imam Shafi then went on to study with Imam Malik. So he's a student of Imam Malik in Medina and Imam Shafi, Imam Muhammad and Imam Abu Yusuf here. So he's a student of both. And then Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal is direct student of Imam Shafi. So you know that they are all linked together. So they were studying and they were just, getting ideas, merging it, whatever they find, they would just change based on their understanding because they were of that caliber. So they all created or made their own methodology, how to understand the injunctions of Quran and Sunnah. If a hadith says this, for example, a hadith says, whenever you enter the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever you come to the masjid, don't sit until you pray 2 rakat. Okay? إذا دخل أحدكم المسجد إذا دخل أحدكم المسجد فلا يجلس حتى يصلي ركعتين. Don't sit until he shouldn't sit. Let him pray 2 rakat before he sits. Hadith sahih. Okay? So you come to the masjid, you pray 2 rakat, Tahiyyul Masjid, Alhamdulillah. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in more than one narration, actually close to mutawatir hadith, quite a few of them, prohibited any nafil prayer after Asr, Fard prayer, and after Fajr, Fard prayer. After Fajr until the sun has risen, and after Asr until the sun has set. So you come for Asr, you prayed your Asr, you went home, and you came for Maghrib. It's about 10 minutes to Maghrib. What do? You act upon the hadith which says, don't sit until you pray 2 rakat, or you pray 2 rakat and go against the hadith which said, don't pray after Asr first prayer. You're stuck. The both are hadith. So you have to have a jurist to tell you what to do in that situation. You can say, I feel, no, it doesn't matter. You know that you can't give fatwa to yourself unless you are a mujtahid of that caliber. You can't say, I feel like, no, I don't feel. I think, no, I don't think. You don't think in matters where there is a fatwa issue. You think about the matters which are categorical. And then you do not say, Imam so and no. You don't listen to anyone when the matter is categorical. You do not say, oh, by the way, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani claimed to be a prophet in India, and because he's a scholar and I'm a layman, I just follow his view. You can't follow his view because he's telling you about something which is categorical in Quran and Sunnah and Ijma of Ummah that Rasulullah was the final prophet. So anyone says against that, you just reject straight away. If all the four, not four, all 5,000 Imam come together, including Imam Bukhari, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, they all come together and they say, well, by the way, you pray 3 from tomorrow. You don't have to pray 5 times. Would you believe that? No, he said, with due respect, Imam, perhaps you have forgotten everything you learned and taught us. You just go back to your grave. We are fine. We don't need you anymore. With due respect. Yes? Because in this matter, I'm not going to listen to you. Because I know what you told me, what Rasulullah told me through you in Hadith and in Quran. I do not need to know anything else. That's what it is. This is categorical. For categorical issues, you do not do any taqleed or following of anyone. It's haram to do taqleed in categorical matters. Okay? But that's where people get confused. Oh, taqleed is haram, Shaykh so and so, Imam so and so said taqleed is haram. But that is in that matter. Taqleed is wajib in other than that. The stuff which is not categorical, which is like this, it is like that. You know, if you make them jump in the cold water, Inna shifa'ul ayyi as-su'al is a must that you must ask. And Allah says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Okay? Is that clear? So anyway, so this is how they were related to each other. So these Imams then had their methodology. So when there is apparent contradiction, this hadith and that hadith goes against each other. Quran says this, hadith says this. There can't be a contradiction at all in Allah and Rasulullah saying it is the way it has come to us, the way we have learned, the way we have understood it. There may be some issue, human error possibility, which we can't fathom, we can't find out. In that, we need expert to come and tell me what to do. If you get headache, you can go to Tesco, paracetamol over the counter, okay. If you get a cough mixture, I'm okay. You do not need to ask a doctor about that. If you want it, that's up to you, but you don't have to. You have a cough mixture sitting indoors, or your grandmother tell you, just use honey with some, flaxseed or whatever, be fine, do whatever. But when it comes to coughing up blood, and you still do the same, you are the most silly person. You'll be dead in a few days. Because that could be TB, that could be cancer, that could be something serious. And I dare you, anyone who's the champion of the champions, does all the medication himself, the minute he started coughing up blood, he sees his GP, please forgive me and tell me what to do. He's become straight there and then. All your arrogance down the drain. Yes, we have seen that. The most arrogant become, mashallah, very humble at that point. You agree? And that's what you need to know. When the matter is not clear cut, I cannot go over the counter. DIY doesn't work here. You have to go to the rightly guided scholars who are pious as well. So in those matters, how they reconcile? The Quran says, Inna salata kanat al-mu'minina kitabun mawquta. Inna salata kanat al-mu'minina kitabun mawquta. Most of the timetable prayer, charts would have that here. Prayer is appointed upon you, prescribed for you at an appointed time. So that's categorical. Appointed time is what? As Rasulullah hadith clarifies, Fajr time, Dhuhr time, Asr, Maghrib. 5 prayers, we agree. There's no disagreement on that. 5 prayer time, Rasulullah made very clear, this is the time and that is the time. Beginning time, ending time. Hadith Jibreel. Anyone knows that Hadith Jibreel? Yes? Hadith Jibreel, where Rasulullah had Jibreel visiting him, staying with him for 2 days consecutive, telling him to follow me for 1 prayer 5 times a day, like Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and the Fajr of the next day. And then he left, and the next day he prayed Dhuhr at the latest time, Asr at the latest time, likewise of Fajr. All 5 prayers. Day 1, he prayed at the earliest time. Day 2, at the latest time. And they say, between these is the prayer time for you guys. Your ummah should pray in between that time. 5 prayers like this. Now, there is one narration that says, or 2 narrations, few narrations says, you can combine when you're traveling. You can't just say, oh, let me just combine. You need to go after the scholar to tell you. So Imam Shafi'i say you can combine. I'm happy with that. Follow that. Say that I am following Imam Shafi'i in this matter. We come to that why you should follow, different Imam at different times. That is, I'm going to put it to you in a minute. But at least be humble and say that I am following Imam Shafi'i in this matter. That is better than saying, I'm following a hadith. No, you are not, because you do not know hadith. You cannot follow a hadith yourself. You have to have someone telling you what a hadith says. You are just being arrogant. Because if Imam Bukhari rahmatullah alayhi didn't compile the book, he would not be even able to decipher the authority or the authenticity of the hadith. So you're just taking the face value of Imam Bukhari or Imam Muslim or Imam so and so. They're saying this hadith is sahih. You say, okay, this hadith is sahih. What do you give me as your evidence the hadith is sahih? Can you give me evidence that Rasulullah said the hadith is sahih? Is there criteria given by Rasulullah the hadith is sahih? It's man-made criteria. All the giants imams, and they're fantastic, most robust criteria. So when Imam Bukhari said the hadith is sahih, you believe that. Why do you believe that? Is there your own personal investigation? No, you can't even read Arabic properly. Without i'rab maybe with translation. So who knows? So when you say that, you know what, it suits me and I'm just following my desire in this situation, not being crazy, I just want to not miss my prayer, I would follow Imam Shafi or Imam Ahmad's view on this, and I combine my Dhuhr and Asr, so that on travel, this is what I'm doing. When you do that, to be honest, I do not become upset with you. But when you say that actually I'm following hadith, so are you saying that Imam Hanifa was following something else? All the Hanafis have not got that hadith. They do not know. They teach. They all know it. Don't you know that Imam Malik rahmatullah, he is the one narrating the hadith. He is the one mentioning the hadith of nur-ul-idaah when you go to ruku. From the golden chain, which is his chain, he says, I narrate from Nafi. I narrate from Nafi. Nafi narrates from Abdullah ibn Umar, who narrates from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he said, Rasulullah when he would go to ruku, he would do nur-ul-idaah. So then Imam Sa'd said in Ibana, another book, Mudabbana, that I do not take this hadith. We do not act upon this hadith. So are you going to tell Imam Malik, you are going against the hadith, I follow the hadith? No, Imam Malik knows hadith. And he's a faqih as well. And he says the reason is that I have not seen anyone in Medina doing nur-ul-idaah. And they're all the Sahaba's students. They are only there. So you would say that I am following the Imam who does make nur-ul-idaah preferred over not doing it. So I'm happy with that. So as a Hanbali, as a Shafi'i, I am doing nur-ul-idaah. As a common man, not following anything, or being Hanafi and just choosing this opinion based on fact, I follow the stronger view and this is hadith that I follow. No, you do not follow that. Because you're not qualified to make that judgment. You are depending on someone else. In the current time, you're following the, so even say that. I follow Sheikh so and so. My Masjid Imam, I love him. MashaAllah, he's Hanbali or Shafi'i or even Salafi. I follow him. That's fine. Except that I am following someone, because your arrogance would kill you. Your iman and everything would be literally wasted on the day of judgment, because what you're doing is just being arrogant. And you will become so arrogant that you would end up criticizing the imams and the scholars and others, because you think that I am judge over them. I am judging who is right, who is wrong. Which can't be. So let's just do what is appropriate for you. Means know your limitation. Your limitation is there. Follow it and understand it. Okay? So follow whatever, do whatever. But now that I put to you, most of the time when people do try to follow more than one imam in one matter, that is to do with their whims and desire. And it is not befitting that we follow our whims and desire. We should rather follow the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you do not know. The trouble is then everything is available to you on the internet, so you can always choose the easier fatwa. So then a brother comes to me and he came to me a few time ago. He asked, there's a hadith about one witr. Can I do one witr? I said, but there's a hadith about 13 witr and 11 witr. Have you ever decided of doing 7 witr, 11 witr, 9 witr? Once you have done that, then come to me for one witr. Why you always want to go from 3 down? There's a hadith about 8. Oh, why you want? There's about 36 opinion as well. Go for 36 once. But the day you do 8, next day you do 36. I'm happy with that. No, you would never do that. I know it's all down to my whims and desire, my ease, and I am there to help you come to Jannah, not to make you lax and easy. Not at all. You just give me one example where people say, I follow the hadith and it happens to be stricter or more difficult. It will always be easier option. And you know your nafs, you're actually following your nafs and you're just doing that for that reason. So we should be very careful about that. If you're mashallah very pious, very zahid, and you want to follow sunnah, and you know that you're not following your whims and desire because you worked on your heart is mashallah as pure as a glass, and alhamdulillah, go for it. Because Allah said, أَفَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you not seen the one who has taken his desires and whims as his Lord? That's difficult. Obviously, it's about aqeedah and other things as well, but likewise for the action. After his days. Yes. And Imam Hanifa, yes. No. So I come to that. Yeah, that's what. So Umar radiallahu anhu, during his time, he built this city called Kufa. He actually sent down two major Sahaba. He mainly sent Abdullah ibn Mas'ud there to be the teacher. And he said, "O people of Kufa, I prefer you lot over myself. I wanted this man to be with me. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever wants to take Deen or Quran, let him take from these 4 people. One of them is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Who is the next one? Ubay ibn Ka'ab. Who is the third one? Mu'adh ibn Jabal. Who is the fourth one? Salim Mawla Hudhaifa. So these are the 4. 2 Makki, 2 Madani. 2 Muhajirin, 2 Ansar. 2 from Makkah, 2 from Medina. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is the Makki. And Salim Mawla Hudhaifa is the Makki. These are the 2 earlier Muslims, the Rasulullah Sahabi. And then Ubay ibn Ka'ab and Salim the Mu'adh ibn Jabal are Madani. So the 4 are the top level knowledgeable person of Quran and Deen. So Sayyidina Umar said that I am preferring you lot over myself, and I'm sending Abdullah ibn Mas'ud to teach you Deen. So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud came here in Kufa, and then he established his Kufan school. His students, the likes of Ibrahim Nakha'i, Masruq, and others, they just go on and on, many students, and then they learn. His students were the teacher of Abu Hanifa, Hamad bin Sulaiman, and the others. So they just learn from these people. When we go through this, Fiqh, Usul al-Fiqh, inshallah ta'ala, that we just explain. Anyway, so Abdullah ibn Mas'ud taught about 4,000 people in Kufa. Abu Hanifa then started learning, and then he systemized. What he did, he just made it into steps. They said, what if you get this? What if you get this? Means as a principles. So if you find a difference between Quran and Hadith, how would you reconcile? If you find a contradiction between 2 Hadiths, how would you reconcile? That's how they developed. And then he, as I mentioned, he made a committee of about few people, 35, 40 people. They were all like imams and jurists and this and that. And they will normally talk about everything and then compile it down. So about 90,000 masail and mashallah were written down. So they've got all written down in a multidisciplinary approach. Fashion. Okay, so that was just the introduction. We just finished in a few minutes, inshallah. It wouldn't take too long. So let's start with the book, just for the barakah. The book is called nur-ul-idaah. Nur-ul-idaah. But before that, any question on whatever we have mentioned so far? I didn't initially intend to discuss that, but I think it's worth it having a bit of recap of that, just to pave the ground. And then, inshallah, when we move on to book now, it'll be easier. Yes.
I've got a friend, and he said that there's another
You asked me the question of the group. I've already responded to that. I will send you the link. You can just listen to that. Yes. The side tracking, inshallah, cover that. So, nur-ul-idaah. MashaAllah. Jazakallah. Very good question about the ijtihad. So ijtihad means independent reasoning, exerting effort to come up with some new ruling. It has never stopped, and it will never stop. Ijtihad doors are not closed, as some people believe. Now we are talking about the levels of ijtihad. There are certain levels. There is ijtihad al-itlaq, mujtahid mutlaq. The person like Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, those are the giants. They come up with their independent reasoning in such a way that they would not need any other book to consult. They would read Quran and Hadith, and they would give you the ruling, and they would devise their own tools. Now, tool being, so as I said about this particular incident, so any other hadith, Rasulullah is sitting in a gathering, a man comes and he said, Ya Rasulullah, can I kiss my wife in fasting, during fasting? He said, yes. In the same gathering, another man comes and he asks the same question. He said, no. So, my goodness, what do I do? What is the ruling there? So obviously the scholars would just then work out. In this case, Sayyidina Abu Hurairah himself, who is listening to those two answers, he himself said, oh, then obviously he referred back and said, what was the situation? He realized one was old, one was young. There was a difference. He said that the young man, he said, no, you can't. For old man, he said, okay. Because he knew the old man can only do and stop at that point. Young man, no chance of stopping there. Okay, he would just end up having the relationship, and that would make him go for 60 fast. It's a big thing. So this is the wisdom that you only get from the fiqh. The faqih would take, what this is what why, this is why, this is what.
Now, you mentioned that you should the imams. Imam Hanifa, you mentioned that there were two Qala Imam who Imam Abu Yusuf had the ability to take him when it comes to
Yes.
So is it possible for someone of that to pick and choose from the three Imams, Imam Muhammad, Imam Abu Yusuf?
Very good question. Very good question. What the question is that can we, because Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad are the two main students of the Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah, and they all make the main thing, main teachers of the school. Can we take the view of Imam Abu Yusuf or Imam Muhammad as and when? Because there is difference of opinion among them on many issues. And this is why I mentioned Hidayah. That's the book, when you read it, it just gives you the views of all of them. Imam Muhammad says it. Sometimes they are together, sometimes these two together, sometimes all together, sometimes all different. So so the question is, can we take it? We, as a common man, no, obviously. There has to be the masters and the ashab. There's a group of scholars, the mujtahideen, called ashab al-tarjih. In every school, Imam Shafi'i school, Imam Malik school, they're called ashab al-tarjih. So these ashab al-tarjih, they make a decision, excuse me, they make a decision that whose view is preferred in this matter, based on the strength of their view, the evidence. So because Imam Abu Hanifa, when he mentions this is what I believe in, and this is the reason, his reason is written down. Imam Muhammad's reasoning is there. Imam Abu Yusuf's reasoning is there. So you read. So the people who were to come after him, they had to look at that. And there is a group of mujtahideen who are mujtahid fil madhab. They are mujtahid in the same school, yet they have got this level of tarjih. They can make preference of one view over the other by weighing them. They just look at both of the evidences, all the three evidences, and they would decide, you know what, in this matter, based on the methodology, this is stronger. As we in medicine do, the guideline 20 years says the first line of treatment for this condition is this. And there's new evidences piling up and coming. Many people say Imam Hanifa had, he might not have heard the hadith, he might not have read the hadith, might not have read it. If he didn't have that hadith, why would you follow his view that may be against the hadith? We say unless it proves that he didn't have the hadith, how could you judge it? This is just an assumption. Imam Abu Yusuf, so yes, then what would we do? We look at the hadith, the Ashab al-Tarjih. They look at the hadith and they look at the view. And if they find the hadith is actually fulfilling all the criteria of Imam Abu Hanifa, the hadith, if Imam were here and if he knew it, he would have taken it, then we say, we would not take Imam Abu Hanifa's view. Or this view is preferred over that for other reasons, external reason. I give you example of that. Imam Abu Hanifa, rahmatullah's view is that if a man is missing, how long the wife need to wait before she can marry a second husband? When would we consider him dead? He's not dead. He's just gone. Might be in a sea, in the boat in a ship, and then just got somewhere else. How long will you wait? Imam Hanifa said there's no hadith, and there's no hadith, by the way, on this. So you have to just do ijtihad. So this was a contemporary, current in those times, a matter that needed answering. So Imam Hanifa, Imam Malik, they were there at the similar time. So Imam Malik said 4 years. Why did he say that? Because he asked people that in those days, if you were to go to the farthest east, how long will it take? Where the people are living, the populated world. They said about 6 months. Okay, 6 months going, 6 months coming, and spreading time here and there. If someone were to go east, it would take him 6 months to explore that area, and 6 months coming back exploring. So a year on all four directions, 4 years. So if you were to go from Medina or Kufa or wherever to find out or look for that person, to search that person, it would take 6 months in each direction, and 6 months, so a year each direction. So a year both ways. So all four ways. So 4 years. He said she should wait for 4 years, and after that he would do her. Then he would announce that your husband is dead if he doesn't turn up in that 4 years, because wherever he would have been, he should be back within a year. From this side, a year there, a year there, a year there. So give him maximum 4 years, even if it to be lost here and there. So if he doesn't come back in 4 years, and someone has searched for 4 years, obviously you don't have to search him for 4 years, by the way, but it's just imaginary thing. Technically, if you were to search in all four directions to find out where he's chained or locked, it would take 4 years. 4 years, fine. After that, you would say he's dead. Then you would do your iddah, 4 months and 10 days. Imam Hanifa said, no, it doesn't appeal to me. And you might not have heard this, but he didn't like him. He said, we will look at that in a different light. He said, okay, what is the youngest person who get married here? Youngest man ever to be married. Like younger men ever to be pubertal. They found maybe about 11, 12 years. Okay, was the highest age in our area, in Kufa? About 104, 105, 102 or whatever. Yes, so he said 102 and 12. Take 12 from 102. How many years? 90 years. So after 90 years, he must be dead no matter what. So she should wait for 90 years. Then it's considered dead. Well, obviously, that's very difficult. The lady then would never ever marry because she'd be dead as well, normally. But imagine that for him, the situation was, if I say 5 years, and someone comes in 4 years' time, or 10 years, someone comes after that, after 10 years, there's a possibility. After 4 years, the man comes back. There is a possibility. Then what? She would have to then divorce because that nikah is batil. She has to leave that husband. She may have children through that man. Now she's going back to the first one. It is too much for her, too much burdensome for her. You know, so just to give her a respite, he said, you know what? He was suggesting don't marry. Wait for him until. But that's him at that point. In the last 100 years or so, the scholars of Hanafi school together they actually given fatwa based on Imam Malik's view. It's 4 years now in Hanafi school. Okay, Imam Ashraf Ali Thanvi from India, he wrote to all the Hanafis of that time from everywhere, including Morocco. The Hanafis from all around the world said, you know what, we agree on this. Let's just give fatwa on Imam Malik's view. So not just Imam Abu Hanifa's students, but even Imam Malik's view is fine as well. So this is how they would just be very open to change. So ijtihad door remains open on different matters as the time come up. For example, nowadays, in Hajj, the tartib, the order of your stoning, pelting the stones, your qurbani, your slaughtering, and then your shaving your head has to have the order on 10th of Dhul Hijjah. According to Hanafi school, if you didn't, then you have to do a dam. That's a must, that's a wajib. But if you're stuck inside the Mina tent, because now they don't let you go anytime, they lock you there, say until Dhuhr, and then your animal is already been slaughtered, and you're told that my animal is slaughtered, yeah, but I'm not let loose to go and do my haraming. So Hanafis today, they say, well, in the modern time, they say, fine, no dumping. Because of this is the organizational need for that. The fatwa is based on other imams. So let alone the fatwa of Imam, we use of Imam Muhammad, even outside of the school we can take. And this happens in all the schools. In some schools, it is a must that they should give as the fidya, as the fitra on the Eid day, as the fitra, the staple food, like dates and grains and wheat. Imam Abu Hanifa, the Hanafi school say you can give, money, like coins or whatever, wealth, like the £3 or whatever. Every school does money nowadays. Have you found anyone giving like a kilo of wheat, 1.7 whatever kilo? No, you don't, because it's not practical and people don't need it. Then it's even more, cumbersome for them. Fine. So this happened throughout. It happened throughout the history, and it will continue to happen. That's the ijtihad easy bit. New issues, new situations, and new problems, there would be mujtahideen giving the fatwa based on that. So that door is open. This issue of using mic, traveling by this and that, doing many other things. What do you will find? Many fatwas are coming. So insurance, banking system, all that is coming. Car insurance, especially organ transplantation. So many issues they will come and continue to come, and there will be mujtahideen giving answers, but within their schools. So your actual question is, can there be a mujtahid mutlaq? Definitely there can be, but will there be? Almost impossible. So the fact that to think about that, anyone who would have that much knowledge to come up with the new tools, why you need that anyway? It's like bypassing everything, starting from zero. I don't think there'll be any sensible person who would even think about doing it. Why to reinvent the wheel? The scholars are very sincere people. If I tell you just in fact, we finish in at 3:30, just 2 more minutes. We'll leave the book from inshallah from next week. Imam Suyuti, who had the name Imam Jalaluddin Suyuti, one of the greatest Shafi'i Imams, greatest man. His date of birth is easy to remember, by the way, 9/11. So Imam Suyuti, Jalaluddin Suyuti, one of the greatest Imams. What he did, he wrote many books. He started his ijtihad. He was about to be independent mujtahid, like Imam Shafi, like Imam Hanifa, like Imam Malik, and he started working his way. He comes to the not even one half, but quarter, and then he said, what? Whatever I am coming up with my assessments and using the Quran and Sunnah directly, my answers are exactly the same as Imam Shafi, which means that my methodology is very similar to Imam Shafi's methodology. What's the point of reinventing the wheel? I'm not Mushtahid anymore. I'm Muqallid of Imam Shafi. I just follow his lead. Why? They were sincere people. They were people of that caliber, but they would never want to be. They would never claim to be that. Today we know nothing, or we want to be Mushtahid and Mutlaq. Obviously, you're not asking for that reason. Most people actually criticize schools for this reason. They say, they said the doors of Ijtihad is closed. We said, no, it's not closed. It's open, but there's no movement for the last 300 years. Not seen anyone even coming close to that door. Because people have not got that much depth and understanding, but there is a potential for that in future. But yes, there are still mujtahideen in certain matters. There are mujtahideen in financial matters, current day business, economics, science, and they'll be mujtahid in that. But to be mujtahid in mutlaq, you have to be mujtahid in every aspect of Sharia. So why would you need to have a new methodology for fiqh of prayer, salah? Because you would be definitely coming with a ruling that would be either following Imam Shafi, Imam Malik, or Imam Ahmad, Imam Abu Hanifa. So what's the point? They're already there. So rather than wasting your time there, do something new. That's why scholars in the last 300 years never even tried it, I would say. And we have seen those who claim they did not fulfill the criteria. So normally the other scholars test them and they found them not worthy of being called a Mujtahid Mutlaq. So we don't need them. For one, we need them in different areas, which Alhamdulillah they are working on. The likes of Sheikh Taqi Usmani, Hafidahullah from Pakistan, he is in banking and economic side of world things. He is really mujtahid. He has got a lot to say, and he, mashallah, has written many, many works. And likewise, there have been many scholars in around the world. Sheikh Abdullah ibn Bayya from the Morocco, no, he's not from Morocco, he's from uh, somewhere around there. But anyway, great Imam. So they are writing and they're doing their best. There some in Egypt sitting there, they're mashallah writing, and some in Saudi Arabia writing. The scholars are there working in their specific fields, mashallah, they're good in their respective specialty, but not a mustahid mutlaq. We have not seen in the last 300 years, but there may be some. Allah knows. Imam Mahdi would be mustahid mutlaq perhaps when he comes. Inshallah. Any question on that? So nur-ul-idaah is just a compilation from there. Inshallah, we would start from that from next week. جزاك الله خيرا. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور